I didn't like the YouTube videos I was creating anymore. So at first it was only supposed to be it was really a 2 month full break where I didn't even open social media, and I pre-recorded all my YouTube videos. Even when I came back, I didn't feel ready, but I was like, okay, it's time. It's been too long. And I kind of pushed myself back. It was like almost a full year where I'd kind of go on for a month and go back off. And I genuinely questioned everything during that period where I was like, do I even like social media? Is this even what I want to do? Do I want to go into something completely different? I really think it was through really almost mind-opening meditation practices that I was doing. And then I felt so inspired all of a sudden. I was like genuinely excited to come back. And when that feeling came back is when I came back. And so many people have said, like, your content's so different now. I really like it. There's something different. It feels more natural. And I think I just wanted to authentically be me. And I was tired of like playing Dr. Mona.
Hey, this is Chad Namiro.
And I'm Kelly Namiro. Welcome to the Balancing Chaos podcast,
A lifestyle podcast where we will interview guests about wellness, business, and just about everything in between.
Our goal is to help you develop a lifestyle that promotes health, wholeness, and success. Through our conversations, we hope to inspire you to live a beautiful, full, and joyful life as you navigate balancing the chaos.
We hope you enjoy.
Dr. Mona Vand is an expert in nutrition and natural wellness and is a pharmacist turned wellness expert dedicated to keeping people off medication in the first place. While she no longer practices as a pharmacist, she uses her education and her work experience to share health and wellness information in a very relatable and digestible way. I can say that as a follower, I am obsessed with her content. If there is one thing that Mona's audience knows, it's that she never shares things that she doesn't love. She believes that food is medicine, and she lives by that philosophy every day. And while medication and supplements can be part of the equation for a healthy life, you guys know that I love my supplements. She believes that food is the key for a holistic approach to wellness. And so we're going to talk a lot about food today and what her diet looks like and all of that. So with that said, everybody, please help us in welcoming Mona Vand to the show. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
So we know that you started out as a pharmacist, and I know that kind of goes way back. You've been a wellness expert for a really long time. But for those of you, our listeners who don't know you, how did you go from being a pharmacist to, prescribing medications? Now you're like in this whole like prevention world.
Yeah. Well, as a pharmacist, I wasn't actually prescribing. We would work with doctors in terms of dosage, right. But just to make sure that's clear. Clarify. But I always share, I loved what I learned in pharmacy school. During the process, I was really excited to graduate and start my life. And I found all of the information really fascinating. It was the actual work field and practice that I didn't like. In the first day, I just had this, oh my God moment. Like depression, fear, like, what am I going to do? So really I started just hypothesizing, what can I do and not waste my career waste my education, because it was 6 years I had spent in school. So I played around with a few ideas, and really my initial goal was to get into TV hosting. But as I was trying to build that and learning to speak on camera, Instagram like popped off. And then I was like, oh, there's a career in this. So that just ended up kind of naturally segueing into that.
Yeah. And you've built your following like huge, like on Instagram, but even like we were talking about your YouTube. It takes so much time. I think like I've been doing this for like 3 years, and it's like I'm 67,000 followers. It's like, I think people think it's an overnight thing. So if you had any like tangible tips for people to take away if they want to get into doing this, what would those be?
I always wonder why my YouTube just grew so naturally and so quickly. Of all the channels, It just really took off. And I think, I don't know, not to get spiritual, but I wonder if it's because my intention behind it was so pure and clear. I remember thinking, oh, I'm not trying to build a huge YouTube channel, but I just need longer form content to serve my community. Because on Instagram, as stories were coming up in shorter videos, I was like, I need to explain this a little bit longer. So I had actually tried launching a YouTube channel twice before that. And the first time it failed horribly. It was just very hosty and it just didn't work. The second time, again, I was trying to do it myself and it also failed. This was my third attempt at it. And that was my intention. I don't care if I grow, I just want this to be useful for them. And then I was growing 25,000 a month without even
That's
trying to
crazy.
put out. Yeah, it was amazing. So I'm like, I wonder if that's why, because it was really just for the right reasons. I don't know.
I think that a lot of people too, though, like would have after that been like, oh my God, I failed twice. Like, I'm just going to quit. Like the fact that you
Yes.
kept going and you, whatever lessons you took from the first two times, like, and applied them.
I would say if you ask for a tangible tip,
Yeah.
the first two times I was trying to do all of it myself, and me transferring footage even to an editor and getting it up, there is so much that goes into the back end. I have so
Yeah.
much respect for YouTubers who do this, and also not everyone's in a position where you can afford an editor, but at that point I had already built up an Instagram audience, and I posted on stories, I'm looking for an editor. And this guy, he reached out to me and he was like, I'd love to collab with you. And he was charging me so little. And I really like, his name is Minor. I mean, I have to give him a shout out. He really helped me launch it. So I was able to have someone help me edit. And I think that's what helped. And then once I started making money, of course, I could hire more of a team. But without that, I wouldn't have been able to do it myself.
Totally. That makes a ton of sense. But yeah, I think that like you learning and like saying, I'm going to do this no matter what, like, you know, I think
Mhm.
that's such a takeaway because most people think like, oh, she just did this and like she did it overnight. You're like, no, I failed twice at it. Like I think that that's a
Failed
really
twice.
important part of the story.
You know what I always find interesting? I was just having a conversation with someone today, another influencer, and we were just talking about the negative comments we get and the judgments we get.
Of course.
And I was like, I love when people are like, oh, you're just a rich, spoiled girl. And I'm like, I grew up in like a middle class, very normal. I went to I have a doctorate. I
Yeah.
put, I paid for college. I have student loans. So what part of like spoil, like why don't I actually get credit for working hard and doing this on my own? People just love to assume you got it for free or someone did it for you.
Totally. I think that it's like honestly one of the hardest careers because you have to be always on. Like you are
Hmm.
always on, always creating content, always giving your energy. And I don't think that people recognize how much of like your time and energy and effort goes into this. And like you built this all on your own. So I think you should be really proud of that for sure.
Thank you. And there's tons of beautiful girls. There's tons of people with
Yeah.
money. There's tons of, that's not what's going to get you a following. You have
No.
to have heart and dedication and really try to build a community. It has really, those things don't matter.
Yeah, like vulnerability, all of those things. Can
All
you
of
tell
it.
us a little bit about your family life and like growing up? What was that like?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it definitely was not picture perfect. My parents moved from Iran, like in the 70s, and their plan was to just get an education and then go back. But then the revolution happened, and so we never moved back. I was supposed to grow up actually and live in Iran. It was I don't know if you've seen what's happening in the news right
Yeah.
now, but Iran was a very, very different place before the revolution.
Yeah.
I mean, you could dress how you wanted. Um, so my parents went through a really bad divorce. And it was hard. They were young, they were students. So me and my brother ended up living in Iran for a year when I was 3 and he was 5 with my grandparents and my aunts
Wow.
and uncles and with our family. Then we came back and my brother and dad moved to LA and me and my mom stayed in upstate New York, about 3.5 hours from the city. So I don't need it, as it's as if I wasn't even in New York City. I think I went twice my whole life. It
Yeah.
was so far away. So I spent my summers in LA with my dad and brother, and then he would come for Christmas, and it was kind of this back and forth thing. But I only saw them a few times a year growing up. So that was definitely really challenging. And I don't think I acknowledged that until the last 4 or 5 years of my life, where I was like, wait, I've never even stopped to be like that. That's a whole thing. I should unpack a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and I've done a lot of work there, and I'm so happy now in terms of where I'm at with that. But my childhood, my parents were very loving, and there was no drugs, there was no physical abuse, and they were very loving. But sometimes it's the other things that can affect you growing up.
Totally. I've heard you talk a little bit on other podcasts, and like on your Instagram about kind of like opinions and stuff like that, especially like on your career. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I resonate so much with this.
It,
Because when I first transitioned my career, like they're like, no, you're working for the family business. Like that's what you're doing.
what's your family business?
They're in gaming. So
Oh, very cool.
hospitality. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm not interested in slot machines.
That's not my calling in life.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Exactly.
totally get that. Yeah, they're like, what do you mean you have such a respectable career? Like you're a doctor. Like it's just this. I mean, it's a thing and you're on to, they respect doctors so much, even
Yeah.
whether you're a PhD in anything, they call you doctor, everyone will there.
Yeah.
So it's just their like pride and joy.
Yeah.
So and by the way, your YouTube content is exceptional. What I would say is it's incredibly digestible. So like when I went on there and I saw your bit about caffeine, I was like, okay, I drink this every day. I should probably watch this 10-minute video. So just
Thank
very
you.
specific and very digestible, which I think is a big part of it. But at any rate, growing up, what was your relationship with food and health and wellness, and how was that interacting with your family, or did this kind of passion of yours develop a little bit later, maybe prior or post being a pharmacist?
Definitely later. The one thing I will say that was instilled in me was the love of fresh food.
Yeah.
Persians we eat a lot of fruit and raw veggies, and there's herbs and everything. So I grew up eating a lot of, I'd say, like whole foods. And my love for fruit has always stayed. I got a taste for it. I definitely didn't eat, my mom and dad were like, let us be kids. Like we weren't educated then either. So we ate McDonald's, we ate chips. I was eating a lot of healthy food too, but until I got to college, I started learning about the body. And I never even, I mean, I played sports in high school, but I didn't start really working out until my very last year of college. And I was on, we had external rotations at that point. So I didn't have exams and I had a minute to breathe. My roommate and I joined a gym, and I finally decided, I was 23. I was like, you know what? I really want to try to get in shape and do this. I'm going to give myself 8 months. And I gave myself this really long goal. And I think that was a really smart thing I did, because, if you're like, I want to get abs in 1 month, it just wasn't realistic.
No. Yeah.
And so we joined a gym, and that just started me on this whole path of, okay, I'm going to eat really simple and clean. And that's what really started it. And I always say, there's this one class I joined, it was a cardio kickboxing class. And there was just something so fun about it. And like the energy, the music, that's what gave me a love for working out. Before that, I hated it. I didn't want to go to the gym. So I always tell people, you have to find something that you look forward to that excites you. And it changes. Like right now, yoga is my thing, but it will keep changing. Maybe it'll go back to something more high paced later.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine changes about every month.
Yeah.
Totally
Right?
identify with that. Oh yeah. Yeah. I get
And it's
bored
good to
easily.
just intuitively go with it. Like, why do you have to force
100%.
if you're moving your body, you're doing good for yourself.
I just stopped caring about, like, I don't even know what to call it, the societal expectation for like the male figure too. I'm just like, if I feel good and I'm enjoying what I do, like that's just what I care about. So I don't really care how big my biceps are or whatever.
Yeah.
Like if I want to mountain bike for a month straight, that's gonna make me feel good.
I think that women can look at it that way too. It's like, I don't have to fit into a certain size. Like if I'm moving my body and it feels good, like that's all that matters. And I think that a lot of times we'll put ourselves into a little box, whether it's with movement or with food. We are like, oh, I'm vegan. And like, I did this like back in 2017, like right before we got married. And then it's like, but when I was craving a piece of fish, like I felt guilty for eating it. And it's like, this is so dumb. Like, why can't I just eat the foods that feel right for me?
I can relate so much to that, because it's like, because you decided you were vegan. I always like, even if someone wants to be vegan, if you're vegan 88% of the time, but you have fish once a month, it's almost like you have to be all or nothing. No,
Right.
It's so close still. I don't know why we put ourselves in these boxes.
It's so true. So
I call it radical veganism.
his mom is vegan.
Because
How long has she been vegan?
she's been vegan forever, and she's the type where it's just like all or nothing. And I'll tell people I'm a pescatarian sometimes, like, well, you had a steak like 6 months ago. I'm like, okay, well, I'm definitely a pescatarian, but I definitely know what you mean. So tell us about your journey with veganism. It sounds like really similar to mine. I was experiencing a lot of the same effects that you were. I was kind of tired and I lost a lot of weight, and it just wasn't for me. So I'm interested to hear kind of what brought you to that point. I think it was your brother, and then how you found out that like wasn't the best fit for your body.
Yeah, I was kind of going in that direction. I think living in LA, you're obviously influenced so much by society and culture, and everyone was like, I felt like I stopped eating as much red meat, and it was really just like fish and cheese were the only things I was eating. And then my brother was having some heart issues, and a cardiologist told him he should go vegan. So I went vegan to be supportive, and he didn't stay vegan, but I did. And then I fell in love with the diet because I started learning a lot about it. And I think The food was amazing. I was living in a city where there was just endless amounts of fresh plant-based
Totally.
food, right?
So many options in
And
LA.
so many options. And New York has a lot of options, but they're not as healthy. It's, you know,
Totally.
it's more like gourmet, like it's just
Sauce. Yeah.
saucy, cheesy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even I was also eating so much of the fake stuff. I wasn't educated enough then to know that it was highly processed and not great for you. And I
Yep.
don't know if it's because I was younger. I don't know when the gut health stuff started happening. I shared that in my YouTube video. You know, I was on a really interesting diet, like eating a lot with my trainer to try to get some gains in the gym. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that threw something off on my gut health, but it just, nothing else was working. Like it was bloating after every single thing I ate. My digestion was horrible. I was going to, and I went the whole like antibiotic, endoscopy, colonoscopy, you know, different diets, and when nothing else was working and everyone was like, you should start adding in. First of all, first it was you need to eliminate a lot of these things that you're eating, like legumes, like nuts and seeds, like all the grains, and then nightshades. And then I was like, what am I supposed to eat?
What's left?
What's left here? So then it was adding in protein. Then as I just, I guess, kept discovering and talking to more functional medicine doctors, they, you know, my iron was low and my thyroid. So it just, you know, I finally had to stop judging myself for it. I think first of all, there was like but I so strongly believed in this. And so it was really just forgiving myself and not judging
Yeah.
myself for changing my mind and realize,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to keep learning and growing. And that was one of the hardest parts. And then of course, knowing that I was going to get a lot of like just
Pushback.
hate for it online. But you know, I will say way more love than hate. So I
That's
was happy about
amazing.
that. Yeah.
So, but I think that was one of the things that like stood out to me too, because you're like, oh yeah, like not judging myself, but it's like, I think that part of it, that thing that makes that hard is that it was also part of your brand. Like
Yes.
your brand was like highly, you know, built on being plant-based. And then it's like, okay, but like now I'm not. And like, are people still gonna want to follow me? I'm sure like those types of thoughts, you know, crossed your mind. They definitely crossed my mind when I started transitioning more.
When I started my social media and my YouTube, I was vegan. So that's all
Yeah.
anyone knew me for, right? And I was so into it and so big on it. So there definitely takes a lot of like, okay, like humility. I don't even know what the right word is for it, but then I thought to myself, anything that I used to think maybe in my 20s, I could change my mind on now. Like just
Totally.
because it's on video and there's, you know, 100,000 views on it, I think that puts the spotlight on it. But I'm like, it's so human to change your mind. And so many people have commented or reached out that it helped them where they were struggling and they were feeling the guilt of not being vegan anymore. And like, I wasn't expecting. So that was really nice.
I think the more honest and vulnerable you can be with people, like the better, even if it is like, some people don't like it, like that's fine. Like they don't have to be there, and that's okay. And like most of them are super supportive and loving.
And there's just something about someone else going through what you're going through or experiencing what you are that just makes you feel supported, right?
Totally.
Even if you don't know them. And I forget that until it happens to me when I'm like, let's there's something I'm going through and I see someone share it. Like there's just like, oh, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
nice to share, you know, even though you're going to get some pushback, it can really help a lot of people.
So let me ask you this. I do want to ask you a couple more questions about diet, but like with the people who are not so nice, like, and I think that so many people deal with this online, so it will help the audience in terms of giving them the proper tools. Like, how do you deal with that? Do you ignore it? Do you like, what do you do?
It depends. It's different every day. You know, depends. Some days I can handle it more than others. The vegan video, the people who just come at you, I feel like you can tell in the energy of comments if someone is willing to have a conversation with you or respectfully disagree or ask you questions. But when someone is just spewing so much negativity and you know it's not going anywhere, I just ignore it. And I used to do this thing where if there was something negative, I would respond and even try to be nice, let's say, and flip their mind and get in a conversation. But then I was like, this is so messed up because there's 30 people who left a nice comment that I'm not responding to, and I'm only acknowledging this one negative comment. Like, what is that telling the universe or the people in my community? So now I stop and I respond to all the positive ones, unless some people are like, look, respectfully, I disagree. And I love having conversations like that. But when people are just, you know, putting their own anger onto you, I just leave it alone.
Totally. So wait, let me ask you this. How do you respond to all your comments
No, I
on
try to
your phone?
respond. No, I'm the only one responding
Yeah,
on my page. Yes. I don't
That's
respond to
amazing.
every single comment, but I don't want anyone speaking for me. It's just, I feel like I don't want to mess with that.
yeah. I think a lot of people like in your position don't, and they have someone else that they hire to do it for them. So I think that's really cool.
That's so crazy because if someone asks me, what if they give the wrong advice that I don't,
Yeah,
I would never want to do that.
Yeah.
better just not respond.
Yeah,
always
I
gonna
agree.
be
I
a-
agree.
There's always a direct correlation with success and the haters. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what you're doing. It's just the truth.
Hey fam, if you are listening here, then you may be someone who deals with chronic overwhelm, bloating, anxiety, and weight you can't lose, maybe hair loss or skin conditions. If one of those things rings true for you, the Wellness by Kelly Health and Hormones course is available to help you get to the root cause and solve the issue in a way that's sustainable and gives you your lifestyle with lasting results. No more diets or quick fixes, but real health and vitality for the long run. My course runs through everything from what labs to test for to what protocols to implement given what's off in your blood work. We cover a variety of hormonal imbalances and how to heal them, plus the mindset work that you'll have to do to change your habits. If you're ready for an environment where you can learn the tools and truly heal to feel your best, most aligned, light, confident version of you, then this course is for you. If you're feeling called to join the WBK Health and Hormones course, head to the link in the show notes to learn more, where you'll get my membership included with your purchase.
What's like an average day meal wise for you?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's your philosophy with food now?
Well, right now, the reason I haven't even been sharing as much of what I eat in a day is because I'm on such an elimination diet still that this isn't there's really not much to it. There's not, I am still sharing recipes that I'm not even able to eat. Even in my new series, I'm doing like the NY Clean series.
Mm-hmm.
The things I'm picking out at restaurants, like let's say one of them's like a lentil soup. I'm not eating lentils right now, but I'm not just gonna, fish and cooked vegetables is not the one thing everyone wants to eat. So,
Yeah.
so that right now I'm sticking to protein and very, very well cooked vegetables and only low FODMAP vegetables. So I don't know if you're familiar with FODMAP. I mean, you had
Yeah.
gut health issues, so you guys might be.
Yeah.
Which is
Maybe
hard
just-
because
You like literally, I had a client before this and she's dealing with yeast, and like that was my issue. It's candida yeast. And so it was like I literally
I've
was
got
on
the
the
Candida
same thing.
diet.
Like you literally can eat protein and like certain vegetables, like, and like that's
No
it.
onions, no garlic.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's
So
hard.
it's
horrible.
really simple. It's honestly, I'm a good adjuster at this point. I even like my best friend Erica is always like, I don't know how you just like you'll just focus on it and you'll go. I'm like, I'm just like eye on the prize, whatever. I can make it work.
Mhm.
So it's really just I would say like cooked vegetables. Where I'm doing a lot of soup recipes now, bone broth. But even for fruit, I'm sticking to lower FODMAP fruits, but I'll do like stewed berries. I've been sharing that a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you get
yeah.
an actual like SIBO diagnosis?
I've gotten a SIBO diet. I got that like 4 years ago, but a SIBO is a little tricky because sometimes people say they can be false.
Yeah.
And then one doctor I spoke to was like, there's no label on it. It's dysbiosis.
Yeah.
You have too much bad bacteria, not enough good, right? Like there's
Right.
SIBO versus candida versus whatever
Right.
you have. So I'm just on probiotics. I'm on a lot of herbal antimicrobials. I'm working with Dr. Will Cole.
Oh, perfect. Cool. I think that's a
Yeah.
good resource. We can link that in the show notes.
I really like him. I've worked with a lot of people and I like his approach because it's very, very integrative in terms of the mind body connection.
Mm.
But he's like, look, I love vegetables. I can't wait to have you integrate. This isn't how I want you to eat forever, but for
Right.
now. And I mean, significantly less bloated when I don't add in vegetables, but I can't wait to eat a huge raw crunchy salad. It's my favorite thing. It's just
Yeah.
right now it's not serving me. So I'm holding off.
Yeah. So I think that one of the things you mentioned was NY Clean, and that's a new series you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit more
Yes.
about that?
Yeah, I want it. So I'm really, I think this whole journey has just opened my eyes to all the additives and preservatives and things that go into our food. I don't even know if I would have gotten educated on it if it wasn't for that and how much they can affect your gut health. So I've had to be so mindful. And once I just realized it's in everything. I used to take a bag of chips and I'm like, oh, it's just whatever, and citric acid. But you don't think about all those, like that little thing that's in all of your food. So I started sharing a lot of it, but then I noticed it was a little bit unrelatable. And people are like, okay, like almost triggering
What can I
people.
eat? Yeah.
What can I eat? So I decided to do this series instead where it's like, okay, here's how you make the best choices. It's not going to be perfect, but everyone's going to go out to eat. Like I mean, you could probably find like a few perfect restaurants in LA, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going and I'm just teaching people, like, if I was going to eat here, if I even like, we're trying to do a fast food restaurant, but I
Oh,
was,
man.
I honestly, wait, Erica, what was the one we were going to go to the other day? Chick-fil-A?
No, not Chick-fil-A.
It was something like that. And I was like, what is it? Popeyes. And I was like, guys, I'd rather fast for the day. I can't do it. So some of them, like, I genuinely couldn't find one clean thing on that menu, not one.
Yeah.
But we're trying to go to bodegas and like casual restaurants and nice restaurants. So we're just teaching people, like, here's how to find the cleanest things on the menu.
I love it too, because I think that in New York, I mean, I was just there for a week and I can tell you, like, I don't think I ate at home one time. Like,
Of
and so all the
course.
people who live there, like, this is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you're going to go out. Okay. Like, what can I ask? And then also I'm also thinking, let me give them like 1 to 2 options at each place. Okay.
Right.
Here's the cleanest you could go. If you don't want to be that like nuanced about it, here's a second option.
How do you like, besides doing this, like this, you know, like, I don't want to call it a cleanse, but like the
Yeah.
diet, elimination diet that you're doing right
Yes.
now. What is your, like, do you feel like you're disciplined with food because you know that it makes you feel better when you are?
Yes. So this is one thing I'm even always trying to work on is I tend to be such a student. I don't know if it's pharmacy school, but I get so diligent and I want to follow the exact rules, that I'm a fixer and a solver.
Mm,
So in this process, on the times that I can't get what I need or I have to let go, I really am trying to teach myself to let go.
mm.
And it's hard because when you've been struggling with something for years and you keep trying everything, you want to be diligent because you just want to get it over with.
Yeah.
But I would say if I wasn't on this elimination diet, once everything, is healed and I can start adding in foods, I'm definitely not, like, I wouldn't be so picky about everything I ate. Right now, I
Right.
think it's a little bit of a tricky time for me because I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
focus.
What, like, if you had a tip for somebody out there who is like, you know, trying to eat a little bit cleaner and they're struggling a lot, like, discipline seems like easy for you. Like what you said about your best friend, she's like, oh yeah, like you can do this. Like, you got it. Like,
Yeah.
what is a tip for someone who is really like not good at that?
Not good at eating clean.
Yeah. Or not good at being
Yeah.
disciplined.
Not good at being disciplined. I have this thing with discipline. I don't even know if I like the word, but it's like, I think it's what you value. So I value healing more than anything else. So that's my priority. Whereas some people might value just not stressing over it or like living in the moment. And even people who work out in the gym, maybe they value a certain physique more than they value sleep. You value sleep more. If you really think of it, you're just making a choice. So it's like,
Right.
do you want it? Do you want it bad enough? I also think, like, as soon as you get rolling, it gets so much easier. Even for myself, before COVID, when I just moved to New York and I was ordering out all the time and I wasn't in the cooking. Every time I try to cook, it was like dragging my feet. But then when COVID hit and I was cooking, now I'm in a flow where I love it again. And you just kind of have to get the ball rolling and then you'll get used to it, because eating at home, it's so simple to just throw something in the oven, throw something on the stove. Like, eating with whole foods, it ends up becoming second nature. And it's like, I don't buy salad dressing anymore because it takes me 5 minutes to make my own and it's amazing. I don't need to.
Yeah.
I think for me, you got to see the forest from the trees a little bit and just try not to. I think a lot of people get really committed and excited about something and they want to go like full on into it. And for
Yes.
me, that was never going to work. And so
Yeah.
when I eat meat, but when I was starting to cut out a lot of the processed meats, I was kind of going one at a time. And that really helped, you
Yeah,
know?
like
And then you start to feel better. You kind
slowly.
of get addicted to the feeling. And then it just is really natural. But like, you try to do it overnight, that could be challenging.
Yeah, for sure.
I totally agree. Because I mean, that's such a good point. Even when I first went low FODMAP and that's when I first learned about gums. And it was like, it was so hard for me to eat that way. Even when I went Candida, it was so hard. Now I'm like, this is so easy. I just make whole foods.
Yeah.
So you just have to start slow and it gets easier.
Yeah.
Do you cook most, like, for someone who lives in New York, do you cook a lot at home, or like, would you say it's 50-50?
I would say it's 50-50. I have like 2 or 3 restaurants that I've found that are clean, that are like my go-tos for takeout,
Yeah.
and I'll do that. But I like cooking. I mean, I have, wild salmon in the freezer, and I just sear it for 2 minutes and put it in my little oven for 12 minutes, and
Yeah.
that's it. And
Easy.
make massage my arugula salad, and I'm good. It's really easy. Yeah.
I want to shift gears because you actually really inspired me a couple of years. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. You took from like October to like December off social media. Was that last year or 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago, I think. Yes, 2 years ago.
And so last year when we were trying to get pregnant with our second son, I was like, you know what? Like business can wait, like life can, like this is more important. And I was like, I'm going to take like 6 full weeks off, and it felt so good. And I did it again this year. So can you tell us about what inspired you to do that? Was there any fear behind it? Like what was the feeling afterwards? Like take me through the whole journey.
I was feeling like I was not inspired and not having fun anymore.
Mm.
And I just had this moment where I was like, I worked so hard to get out of a career that I hated. And this was my dream career. And now I'm just in this rat race. And I was really confused and perplexed at how I wasn't having fun, because creating content is so fun and creative. I'm like, why am I dreading this every day?
Yeah.
And I just wanted a second to breathe. It started to feel like a rat race. I didn't like the YouTube videos I was creating anymore. So at first it was only supposed to be it was really a 2-month full break where I didn't even open social media, and I pre-recorded all my YouTube videos. But then I came back, and after a few months, I don't know, I just wasn't ready. Even when I came back, I didn't feel ready, but I was like, okay, it's time. It's been too long. And I kind of pushed myself back. So then when I came back, it was like almost a full year where I'd kind of go on for a month and go back off. And I genuinely questioned everything during that period, where I was like, do I even like social media? Is this even what I want to do? Do I want to go into something completely different? And then I was staying home, and I was like, just trying to get a feel for different things. And then finally, I really think it was through really almost mind-opening meditation practices that I was doing. And then I felt so inspired all of a sudden. I was like genuinely excited to come back. And when that feeling came back is when I came back. And so many people have said, like, your content's so different now. I really like it. There's something different. It feels more natural. And I think I just wanted to authentically be me. And I was tired of like playing Dr. Mona, if that makes sense,
Yeah. I think that is like really powerful, because I think that a lot of times we need to go inward in order to be able to be more creative or be more passionate about the work we do. I know every time I take a little space from social media, I feel like a different human being. So
yeah, right. I mean, 6 weeks, even people who ask me that question are like, I took a week off once and it was so hard. So 6 weeks is a big deal. I mean, and isn't it funny how when you take the time off, everyone's like, were you thinking about Instagram? I was like, no. All of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm so good. It's like you're more present.
Totally. And it's like, I think that the platform itself is just comparative in nature.
Exactly.
And so when we're not looking at somebody else's life, it's like you can really be in your own, which is very nice. But
Agree.
one of the things you mentioned there was meditation. And I know you're into mindfulness, you're into movement. Talk to us a little bit about both of those things.
Yes, I first got into meditation. I took a course in TM, and this was like in 2019. 2018 or 19, I can't remember. And I remember like in the first day of the course, she taught me and I felt it. I finally felt that deep, like going within. And I was like, oh my God, for years, I've been trying all these different meditation techniques, and everyone tells you can't meditate wrong. There's no way to do it wrong. I disagree with that, because once I did it right, I'm like, this is what it's supposed to feel like. And I spent so much time forcing these things, like, okay, let me just keep trying every day, giving it more time. Whereas if I would have just tried something different, it clicked immediately. And then I understood it. So TM was the first thing that I really got into. And it was a really relaxing experience. But I would say years later, which is about a year ago now, I got into Joe Dispenza's work, and I just found his stuff. I saw his Instagram clips, and it was really speaking to me. And then I went to his week long, and I mean, it completely changed my life. And now That's my everyday. That is my number one priority every day.
So good. I am obsessed with him. I've seen him.
Right.
I saw him speak in October, and I want to do the week long in.
I can't recommend it enough.
It's so good. Like seeing the people who he's like healed, like all these chronic conditions. It's the craziest thing in the world. It's like, it's so amazing.
It's like a
I
Tony
saw
Robbins
one.
things where he gets them up on stage.
Yeah, he
yes.
had. Like, I mean, at the one that talk I was at, he had one of the girls he healed on stage, but like she had horrible eczema, and then like literally, it's gone. Like,
Oh, she was actually at our week long too,
okay,
where she said she's like, all of a sudden I just woke up and it's like as if it fell off her. Yeah.
insane.
There's crazy stories there. I mean, it's such a powerful week. The things you see and experience and do, it's like it will make you believe in energy in a way you never thought. It just changes your perspective on life.
Yeah, I think that like one of the things that you mentioned even before, like when you said you were working with Will Cole, you're like, oh yeah, like the mind body connection. And it's like how even like being super stressed can impact your gut health or something like that. Like it's so
not
fascinating.
it
does.
It does. It's genuine. And like, I think you hear it and you're like, even doctors, oh, stress, but you don't really understand it. And when you get into this work, you're like, this is so real. If you think about it, every single chemical that you release in your body that's signaled, where is it being signaled from? Your brain.
Right.
So what is like, what makes one thing release more than another? It all comes from the mind. I don't think people really conceptualize that.
Totally.
That's a really good way to look at it.
Is stress one of those things that you like that you have been working on, or do you feel like you have a good handle on that?
It's, it's like, I'm leaps better than if you met me at 28, I was a different human. I was just so anxious all the time. Like, I don't even think I realized it because it becomes your normal.
Totally.
So even now I'm like, God, I've worked through so much. Like, shouldn't this all be good? But I think I still have a ways to go because you don't realize your subconscious patterns and who knows what, in childhood, the things that stuck with you. And then, even throughout life, it's not even just childhood. So yeah, it's definitely something I focus on daily.
Yeah, living in New York would always stress me out no matter what.
I actually this is the least stressed I've ever been.
Really?
Yeah, I work even in LA, everyone's like, LA traffic. I'm like, I lived in West Hollywood and worked in West Hollywood, and then I worked from home. So I was never commuting. Only my first year in LA was I doing like a long commute to Santa Monica, from Hollywood. But maybe because I'm not in the hustle and bustle of it and I get to work from home. But I also think, when you're in love and you're in a safe relationship, and I think your 30s are so much better than your 20s in every way. Yeah. So I think right now, like the New York part doesn't bother me. I actually like it.
That's great.
Yeah.
What else do you got going on during the day? I think you do some of the Wim Hof stuff. I read that you believe in, or at least promote, cold showers or cold plunges. Like do you separate your breath work from your meditation, or are those kind of combined into one?
The meditation, I don't do like the meditation I do isn't breath. He does have you do a breath work in the beginning for like 4 or 5 minutes. That's actually one thing I'm really trying to incorporate into the middle of my day, because I'm trying to think of like, I think we do everything in the morning and then we have the whole day where like everything else can add up. So I'm like, okay, taking 5 minutes at like noon or 1 could be really nice. So that's one thing take a pause. I don't do the cold showers every day. Like those are things I just mix in. I would say that one thing I do every day is meditation and red light, because I like to do it at the same time. It's easy.
Oh, I love that.
That makes sense.
We're like, we want a red, like a red bed. Like that's what we're like thinking about buying for Christmas. We're like,
oh, if I had a house, I would definitely want one too.
Yeah, so good for like inflammation and all of those things. I feel like this is a perfect transition point too, because one of the things that you are really into is clean beauty. You have like always had beautiful skin. So
thank you.
Has that been a reality for you forever? Or like, I personally like had horrible cystic acne in my 20s. Like good skin always been something that has been a reality for you?
No, I had really bad skin in college, and even like I would say 24, 25, 26. It wasn't like inflamed acne, but do you know what comedones are?
Yeah.
Yes, I would get those all over, and I never really understood. So I think skincare journey that's been a kind of a long time. And now I feel like my skin's the best it's ever been, which is funny because I'm older now.
Yeah.
And same thing with clean products. That's all been more education, I would say, in the last 3 or 4 years, because at first it was just what works the best.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when I really see, what works
What's
the best.
powerful?
Yes. Now that I've started learning, my philosophy on that is things that I'm using every single day, I'm really, really particular on being clean. And, if it's my skincare that I'm using, my makeup at home, when I get makeup done, when I go, I mean, what are you going to like check the soap when you're at a restaurant washing your hands in the bathroom? Obviously, you
Yeah.
can't control everything, but the things at home I like to.
Mm.
And then if there's a clean alternative, I'll always choose it. But if there's not, I like to just let go.
Yeah.
Sometimes like
Yes.
spray tans or, it's like people will ask, oh, when you get your hair colored, is it non-toxic? I'm like, no, I don't know, like I'm getting regular hair dye because I don't have a cleaner option, but I try to do my best in the things that I can.
Control. Yeah. People ask me
Yeah.
that the same thing too. They're like, oh, like, did you find a non-toxic bleach? I'm like, I wish.
Right.
No.
I know. Same thing
Um,
like nails. I'm like, my nails are not non-toxic either.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
do you have any websites or literature that you're referencing when you're kind of deciphering which is clean and which is not? Because I've seen a few of those. Some seem to be okay.
what other people could use like to look up their
Yeah, I've seen
products?
one for household products is great. Or you just educated enough where you're flipping it around. looking at the
No, I
label.
mean, I would say food, I'm like
Yeah.
at 80%. I'm really educated in that. And it's also easier. But when it
Mm.
comes to skincare products, it's like the good chemicals look the exact same as the bad ones. It's
Yeah.
impossible to memorize, they're so I
Yeah.
use EWG or Yucca
Yeah.
or really just researching and I'll see. But it's actually quite tedious because a lot of skincare brands reach out and want to send me stuff.
Mm.
And it's like, well, I'll ask, is it free of parabens? And they're like, yes, it is. But then you don't always know. So we have to look up one by one. And if it's not, I won't accept it because there's too many other clean options. Why would I go with something that's not good?
Right. Totally.
It takes work these days.
It definitely does. but
It
there's-
does take work.
Totally.
I feel like on the back end, like knowing like all of these different hormonal imbalances and issues that it can cause when you have toxic things in your products, it's like, why would I want any of that? Like if I could, like, for what I can control, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
So tell us like briefly, I don't want to like spend too much time about this, but briefly, like what are like your favorite places? Cause you live in like the best place ever for facials and like skincare. And then is there like a 2 or 3 or 4 steps that you do morning, night?
Yes. So my favorite facial right now there's a couple. Joanna Vargas has a really good one. They have this one called the Triple Crown facial. I believe they have one in LA too, but I go to the one in New York.
My mom just went there when we were in New York and she's like, it was $1,200 facial. It was best facial
What?
of my whole life. I was like, oh my
wow.
God.
Okay. The one I get's like 400.
Okay.
Because you can also go with a master esthetician or you can go with like, they have different levels of estheticians.
Okay.
The Triple Crown I like because it does oxygen extractions, or you might have to add on extractions, but microcurrent.
Yes.
Microcurrent works. I mean, I will just attest to this. It genuinely works. When I go, I have like, my face is noticeably more lifted.
Yeah.
So I love their microcurrent. I also really like, there's my dermatologist in New York, Dr. Ellen Marmer. Her esthetician, Allie, in her office is amazing. I'm obsessed. And it's such a hidden gem because you wouldn't ever think to go to a doctor's office to get a facial. And I don't know if it's just for her patients or not, but she's incredible. I love her. My morning routine, I wake up, like wash up, big like tongue scraper. That's like the first thing I do in the morning.
Oh yeah. Once you
right?
go tongue scraper, you can
You
never
can't
go
go,
back.
you can't go back at all.
Oh,
You're like, how do I live without this?
If you travel without it, I'll Postmates it every time. It'll kill me.
Right?
You got me out of that.
It's great.
It's so good. And then I put on my skincare products. A lot of times I'll do like a face mask, a hydrogel mask, and then I'll go meditate. I like to my phone's on airplane. I don't like to talk, look at anything, go meditate. Because I have my meditations downloaded, and then I'll sit in front of the red light while I meditate.
Okay.
And then I would say 60%, 70% of the time I'll move my body right after, in terms of like whatever I'm doing that day, whether it's yoga, cardio, weightlifting. And I really like, I don't like to turn my phone on even then during the workout. So I like to either listen to an audiobook or listen to music, or if I'm working out the trainer. And then once I'm done with those two things, like 9:30ish, I'll turn my phone on and like start the day.
I think that like every single expert in their field that we have had on tells us that they start their day without their phone.
Yeah.
Or
Is that
without-
true?
So true. Because I think
Wow.
that like when you are
And they say they
Success-
break it, but they aspire to.
like
I think a lot
for
do.
most of the
It's a
time,
very
yeah.
good job.
Sometimes I break it, but of
You
course, I
have to.
really,
It's-
really, you have
it's
to once in a
21st
while.
century.
Because
Yeah.
I think that like when you are successful, there are a million people in your inbox who want a million things from you. And
Yes,
you have to be able to protect your peace at some point.
agree. And I think it doesn't affect everyone the same way as others. Whereas
Totally.
the days, I mean, I would say 10% of the time I ever wake up and look at my phone. It's only if, but like, I just am noticeably less. I'm like, I'm like, not
Yeah.
like, like calm
can
and
breathe.
relax to start the day. Yes. I don't
Yeah.
like, and at night I really try after 8:30 or 9, I just put it
Yeah.
away.
So that's what I was
People all too often forget the psychology of the phone and social apps. Like you have the smartest and most well-paid engineers finding a way to get you engaged as often as possible. And so you have to respect that. Like we have a human mind and they've tapped into it. And so you gotta understand that and realize that at times, or at least me, when I pick up my phone in the morning, I'm pretty powerless. Once I'm going, I'm going. Like
Yep.
it's hard to put it down. It's the truth.
It is. And even now, like I got back into my workflow, right? Where I took such a break and I've just really rebuilt a great team and we're in a great flow right now. And there's a lot of like, they need notes from me and they need things. So like I catch
Yeah.
myself wanting to be on my phone later or wanting to respond to them. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
this, like, I need to protect my peace and this video is not urgent. It's okay.
I always think about, because I have like a very similar like when you were talking about like 27, 28, like you're anxious, like I have a very similar story. And so I think that when I think about the things that like make me feel anxious, like it's like I have to separate myself from those things in order to like be where I'm at now. And it still takes like a
100%.
conscious effort, but
100%. And I think some people have to work at it harder than others, which is fine, but it's like really avoiding the things that make you anxious and then really embracing those things that make you feel good. And even though they make you feel good, sometimes you resist. And it's so interesting why we resist it when we know we're going to feel amazing after. But it's a constant work every day.
It's work every single day. So you're winding down, you to put your phone away. Do you guys like, or do you have like, when you have dinner, are you like eating dinner or like without technology? What does that look like?
It depends on if we're out at dinner. But yeah, I try to really be present and like not be on my phone. If I need it for getting home and have to like whatever, order an Uber or something, that's different.
Sure.
But for the most part, I eat dinner, I put it away, and then I like to, sometimes I'll use it to listen to an audiobook, or even if I'm just like, laying down, reading, whatever I'm doing at night. I love baths. I like taking Epsom salt baths.
Yes.
Actually, Dr. Will Cole, that's like one of the things he wants me doing like multiple times a week because it's such a great detox.
Yeah. It's like better than the sauna because you're sweating in the like heat of the bath, and then you have the magnesium to like push the toxins out. I love it.
Yeah, and I wasn't even in that. So now it's become kind of my night routine that I love. It's so relaxing.
I love that.
Are you cutting TV a few hours before bed, I assume, and trying to stay away from the blue light? Maybe not perfect.
I am.
Yeah.
I know, it's funny because at first I was cutting my phone, but then I would still like watch a show before bed.
Some good
And then
ones
I was
on right
like,
now.
There really are. Exactly. So no, I don't know if it's the blue light on my phone that's affecting me because I can watch TV at night and like still not feel like
Go
that
right to bed.
anxiousness. So I wonder if it's just what the phone represents and work and
Totally.
social media, like versus like the actual blue light.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like that always like having that like constant like looming like email to answer or DM in your inbox or whatever it is. It's like
Yes.
there's always something to do versus like,
Exactly.
okay, I in front of a TV, I can just like turn off.
Yeah, it's just like, and I'm really not a big TV person. It's like I kind of just like a little something like before bed, just relaxing. I like it.
So with you like being, an expert in the wellness field, like if you were to give our listeners one book and then like 3 tangible takeaway tips, like if they're looking to improve their wellness in 2023, give us your best.
One book. I mean, this is a really interesting, but I'm actually not a big reader. I love podcasts and I do some audiobooks, but I've never been a huge reader. But this one book that I read it just changed my perspective on so much. It's called Many Lives, Many Masters.
I love it.
And it's about past life regression therapy. And this Yale psychiatrist who, he had this patient, and all of a sudden he was doing hypnosis therapy, and she started going into these past lives. And I think this is why I like Joe Dispenza too, because people who are very logical and come from like less of like a spiritual realm, but then really make this stuff real and make you believe in so much more. I think I'm just fascinated by it. So I loved that book. And what was your second question?
Like 3 wellness tips for someone who's looking to
3.
improve their wellness.
I would say, honestly, a cold shower.
Mhm.
It's the vagus nerve stimulation, however you want to do it. The vagus nerve is basically what activates your rest and digest.
Mhm.
So for anyone listening, it's like you always want that one. You want the vagus nerve stimulated. It's your parasympathetic nervous system. And so cold showers, gargling, whatever you can do, I think that's amazing because there's so many different ailments that it benefits when you do that. So that's huge. I would say honestly, just reducing cell phone usage. I just think it's so beneficial to get more in tune with yourself.
Mm.
And it's also given me less of an addiction to my phone. I don't know if you've noticed that when you took a break,
Oh my gosh.
but I feel very detached from my phone now, which I think
Yes.
is amazing, right?
Yes. It's like you don't even want to. Like, whereas like before, the first thing I would do is look at it. Like now it's
Now
like,
I don't
really-
want
I don't
to.
want to.
I agree. And then I think for food, one thing I would say is just experimenting with more whole foods. Like I don't think people take advantage of herbs enough. Like fresh basil, mint, cilantro, dill. They seem intimidating, but they have so many health benefits. They make your food taste so much better. It almost gives you a love for fresh food because, anytime those flavors are in something in a restaurant, you're like, oh, this is so fresh and it tastes so good. Adding that into your cooking, I think might inspire you to cook a little more, eat more whole food based.
Speaking of food, there's one more thing that I want to, before we tell everybody where they can find you. You are doing a meal collaboration,
Yes.
meal plan. Can you talk a little bit about this? Like, is it for only people in New York? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So there's this company, Daily Dose, that I've been a fan of for years. The founder, Trisha, she's this amazing chef. And I don't know for anyone who's a clean eater, this is definitely the company for you. Everything is made from scratch. Their chia pudding is unlike anything I've ever had. It's insane. And there's, no sugar. Everything is super clean. So they approached me about creating the vegan meal plan with them. And it's really interesting because I obviously just shared this whole journey that I'm on, but they loved it. They were like, one thing we like, because their whole meal plan is not vegan. You can order different ones, and it's like you can do 3 days a week, 5 days a week, but you can also order a la carte. So they were like, so many of the people that eat our vegan meal plan will also order salmon a la carte or eggs or add their own to it, but they're just trying to eat more vegetables because whether or not you're plant-based or keto or paleo, everyone agrees that we should be adding more plants into our food, right? So we're calling it A Taste of Home, and it's very Persian inspired. We have been going through all the recipes, it's back and forth. We created everything with such detail. It's honestly amazing. I'm so excited about it. We've got eggplant dishes, cauliflower rice dishes, like a plant-based vegan frittata using chickpea. It's going to be really good.
That sounds amazing. So they can get that on their website.
Yep, I'll be sharing it, but you can get it on Daily Dose's website, and they ship like anywhere in the US.
Oh, I'm gonna have to try that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I feel like
and
most of them are like confined to a specific place. That's cool.
They ship anywhere, and everything is made fresh same day.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's great.
That's incredible. I feel like sometimes too,
Organic.
you get it and it's like wilted. This is so good.
It's
I love it.
organic,
Unbelievable
grass
world
fed
we
and
live in.
finished. I know, right? And the fact that I'm like, how do you even do that? I'm impressed.
Actually.
The supply
Yeah.
chain innovation the last like 10 years, that's so unbelievable to me that you can manufacture a diet and have it at someone's doorstep within a day. It's just
I agree. And
So
even the
lucky.
way like regenerative farms they use, everything's grass fed and finished, pasture
Yeah.
raised, wild caught. So it's like, it's just, if you're looking for clean, it's a really good one.
Amazing. Well, we are so grateful that you took the time to do this. Thank you. This has been such a wonderful conversation. Tell our listeners, for those of them who don't know, where they can find you, all the platforms, all the things.
Sure. Mona Vand on pretty much everything. My YouTube is still Dr. Mona Vand. I can't change that one. But TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and my website is monavand.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mona.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
This was wonderful.
This was great. Thank you, guys.
We really hope that you enjoyed that episode. You can follow me on Instagram at Wellness by Kelly. And if you're new around here, you can sign up for the WBK 7-day free trial where you can get access to all of my low impact workouts, blood sugar balancing, plant-based recipes, and guided meditations, all available on wellnessbykelly.com and on the WBK app.
Hey, thanks for listening.
Please make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also connect with us on social media at Wellness by Kelly. Drop us a DM for who you want to hear from.